giving back,
Cool.
I guess.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you have such a amazing concept, you just shared to us. Who can join to this community though? Like, what kind of community are you expecting to come over to NuNu world, let's say? Yeah.
Sure. So we obviously started in the Web3 space. So our initial community is based on our early backers, those who who were all in from the beginning, our VCs who believed in us from the very beginning. They gave us the resources to basically kick this off and do it right. From that, we expanded into, the typical marketing spaces. So we have Discord, Telegram, Twitter, kind of those are the usual suspects, so we're welcoming of anybody who's interested to come in from the Web3 space to check it out. To get interested, we have giveaways all the time on our platforms. You can win NFTs, you can win tokens, by participating in community events. We just had a quiz night. We had a movie night, where people can just watch a movie that that inspired us, and have a chance to win an NFT, so that they can play and participate and actually plant a tree for themselves. But we think that Gamefi space is really moving towards what we call a hybrid free-to-play, play-to-earn model, where it's very important to have that mass market appeal inside of a game, which I think a lot of previous games in Gamefi space kind of missed out on. They kind of built these very technical resource management type or battler, Pokemon battlers, and that worked for a smaller niche crowd who was really interested in that and was basically working the game economy system as a meta game. But in terms of sustainability, I think that falls off at some point. And in order to create a game that has long-term sustainability, you have to have a game that's fun and market kind of sticky. And so we take a lot of plays out of the freemium playbook, the traditional free-to-play. You allow people to come and play the game to a certain level without spending money. They provide a number of benefits for your community, more people to engage with, matchmake with, compete against, and they also are given an opportunity to join, as a full on-chain user. So a free-to-play player might go through the game and be purchasing in-app purchases, purchasing items for the game that help them play more often, stuff like that. Those revenues help sustain the whole ecosystem. They help us plant more trees, but they also give them the opportunity to earn an NFT, which is a really strong motivator to say, okay, maybe it's time for me to get a wallet. The traditional, how do you onboard somebody into a GameFi space is, okay, first of all, you have to convince them that they want to play a GameFi game. Then you have to get them a wallet. Then you have to get them to fund the wallet. Then you have to get them to, go on the exchange and exchange the funds that they put on the wallet for some other token. Then they need to decide which tokens to buy with, and it's this huge multi-step process in order to get involved in a game that has a forced NFT buy-in in order to participate, and it's unrealistic to expect normal daily users, mobile users to go through that process. So if we can basically turn that upside down, be like, here's the game, play it, get used to it, get familiar with some of the processes that are happening inside of this. You can see, in your rewards what you would be getting if you were on chain. So you're like, okay, maybe someday I'll figure out, but oh, now I have an NFT that I can claim. Okay, now it's time for me to get my wallet. I don't have to worry about, getting scammed, with a coin that's, not a real coin. Somebody dropped NNS or something like that instead of NNT. And we're like, and they came in and they were like, hey, what do I do with my NNS? And we're like, what's NNS? He's like, it's your token. I was like, no, our token's NNT, bro. And they're like, oh no. So I got scammed. We're like, oh no, you got scammed. That really sucks. And we don't want people to go through that. It's not fun. It's not fair, and it's not helpful for our community in the blockchain community as a whole. So I think the better model is to get people introduced to it in a safe space where they're not exposed to those risks, and then help them, give them the tools to slowly expand their their home space, that safe space where they're learning about blockchain, so that they're less likely to get taken for a ride.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, so earlier you mentioned, you entered into crypto space, back in 28, no, back, not even 20, right? I mean,
2017.
Before,
yeah. 2017 was my first professional touch with blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually you have seen every trend changing, right? Like you've seen ICO for sure.
Yeah.
You've seen DeFi, and now you have like NFTs. So
what do you think? And DAO governance, which is just emerging, I would say. Governance. I mean, there were a few DAO operations, like even back in 2017, but I would say they were so prototype at that stage. But now it's becoming quite strong, and I think people are recognizing the value in DAO governance. So yeah, there's lots to come from this industry.
Yeah, and definitely.
It's certainly an exciting time to be here.
Exactly, and I think NFT community are expanding every day. Maybe can you share your view about this NFT field in, let's say, this year, next year, the near future?
Sure. So me personally, I think we're seeing, I wouldn't say the end of like ICO funding, like token funding, but the benchmarks and the requirements for funding through a token and a token generation event have become very, very high. It's very difficult to get a top launch pad nowadays. You have to have a product pretty much ready to go, and to be fair and honest, that's what you should have, because essentially what you're doing when you're doing an ICO is you're going public with your company. So I think in the bull run, it was easy to raise funds and kind of work off of the speculation. You could fund, all of the investors got theirs back, and maybe even a little bit more. And you still came out at the end of the day with you came out of it with this kind of overall net boost. Everybody was kind of going up, and it didn't matter if you had, or you ended up delivering your product in the end, because it was all about that. Everybody was kind of going up with everything, and launching your token in a public space before you have revenues coming in, before you have anything that's supporting the price of that token, other than speculation, it's incredibly difficult, and it puts a huge amount of pressure on developers to do things that are maybe not right for the project, to buybacks and stuff like that, spend their development funds on marketing, which is maybe not effective, it's quite upside down in my opinion.
Right.
But I do think it's never going to go away, that you'll still fund through those projects, but I just don't think that there will be the sheer quantity of them. And I think that the benchmark of those projects, that kind of requirements they need in order to launch a project that way, will continue to rise. And I think in some ways that's a good thing, but in some ways that kind of leaves out projects like ours would have been, where we didn't have a huge amount of startup capital to put together those things, to get that ball rolling. And where you have such a cool idea like NuNu Spirits, wouldn't have happened without our VC investors, without our ICO. But I think in the future, NFTs are still pretty hot. And we saw quite a bit of resistance, to the downtrend in the NFT markets in general, versus tokens, utility tokens or governance tokens and those types of things. Those all kind of took a heavier hit, in my opinion. And one of the things about that, I think, is that NFTs kind of have, a built-in utility that's beyond speculation. And it's just that collector's utility. The idea that I was able to pick up, whatever.